Hey guys, welcome back to Golden Aesthetics. Today is a very special day. I'm here with one and only Tom Platz. Tom, thank you so much for doing this. It's a great pleasure. It really is. I was driving here and I'm nervous. I'm really still nervous right now because this is a very big thing for me. As I told you, I grew up in Russia and I was looking at your photos when I was 6 years old, and now I'm here doing this interview. So I'm very excited, and I'm very excited to share you with your fans around the world because they're thirsty for knowledge. The bodybuilding is changing, and you're one of the biggest and prominent legends of golden era of bodybuilding. So thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
I'm one of the guys that are still alive, you know?
Yes, you will be alive even when you're gone, because we're gonna carry on your legacy and your knowledge. I prepared some questions for you because I put on Instagram, and there was a lot of people that still remember you and follow you, and they ask a lot of questions. I picked the best ones. So we're gonna start with how did you get into the sport of bodybuilding? What was your motivation and how it started for you, and how old were you?
I was 9 years old, and I went into a drugstore where I used to live, this place called Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a little town called Millville. And I went into the drugstore and I saw this Muscle Bodybuilding and Power magazine. Before Muscle and Fitness, it was called Bodybuilding and Power. And I think so, Bodybuilding and Power, yeah, I think something like that. But I was looking through the magazine, I was 9, and I'm like, wow, I'm just like mesmerized. Dave Draper, the blonde hair,
Yeah.
girls on each arm, girls on each leg, and then Arnold, of course, drinking protein out of the blender. And I was like, I couldn't breathe for a second, you know? I thought, my God, what a job! What a great job this would be! You know, living in California was 3,000 miles away, and I never saw California. I never saw the beach. I saw the snow, you know, in Pittsburgh. You know, it was a steel mill kind of city. Everybody worked hard, you know, and the guys drank beer at night. And life was good, you know, and that was the kind of working class environment that I was raised in. But I thought, what a dream to be in California, to have girls like that, and to have surfboards in the
You were only 9 years old.
Yeah, and it's Corvettes were in the picture. Remember, Joe Weider painted this picture of what California was from his point of view. And I bought in right away. Right away, I'm like, Dad, when I grow up, that's what I want to do. Dave Draper, this Weider Crusher thing, and the girls here. And I thought, that's what I'm going to do. It just, my whole life changed. And Artie Zeller took that picture. Artie Zeller, a great photographer. He took pictures of all of us, you know. He passed away a few years ago, but when I told myself, most importantly, I made a self-promise to Tom, when I grow up, that's what I'm going to do. And, you know, and I told my dad this. My dad's like, sure, whatever, you know, let's go home.
Yeah.
And he didn't buy the magazine for me. He put it back on the rack. We went home. But I never forgot about it. I would look out my window and look at the snow and go, pretend that's sand. Wow. You know? And
So how did how did you go to the gym? When did that start, and how?
you know, I was pretty young, so I couldn't get into gyms. I didn't even know any gyms were. But my dad bought me this set of weights for Christmas, a 110-pound set. And I'm thinking, all right, this is the answer to my dream. I have to read the instruction book. And I'm like, my dad would go downstairs after dinner with me, and he'd go, okay, the first exercise is the bench press. I'm like, okay, what do you do? He goes, well, you lay down on the floor and you got to push this bar. Now my elbows would hit the ground.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then we figured out you have to have a bench. So we rigged up this bench, and every night after dinner, we would do different exercises. But I knew, you know, it was weird because, you know, I always wonder why would a priest become a priest? I mean, that's a hell of a commitment. Why would a nun become a nun? But there was no choice for me. I mean, there was absolutely no choice. I was going to go to California, and I was going to learn how to do it all before I went there. I remember going in the bathroom going, hey, Mom, I look like these guys, don't I? I was like 9. You know, yeah. But there was no choice. There was no what if, no plan B. Forget plan B. This was the only thing that mattered in my life. It was the most important thing. It was like being a priest, and what I imagined why a priest would become a priest. I know you thought about becoming a priest.
Yeah, I was, but you don't tell him that.
Okay, erase that. I thought about it.
No, it's so good. But I kind of became a priest in a way.
Yeah. We're all priests in a way.
Yes.
I mean, we all came out here to California like anointed zombies. We came walking out here with no money and no really understanding of the future other than
just a dream.
We needed to be together and train.
Yeah.
That's all we knew. think there were 3 girls and 9 or 10 guys. That was it. That was bodybuilding in its infancy.
Wow.
It was wonderful.
Well, what was bodybuilding for you back then when you were starting out in your vision, and how it changed, and what do you think about it as now? Because I'm sure you went through a transitioning, you know, through the mental understanding and spiritual understanding of bodybuilding. What was it for you at the beginning of your career, during the career, and now?
When I first came to California, we all went to the beach. The beach was the same as the gym. I mean, you went to the gym for 2 hours in the morning, then we had breakfast together, and we went to the beach together all day. And some of us came back to the gym to train again. I'm like, that's crazy. I'm going to go home and relax and get ready for the morning. But the beach was an extension of the gym. It wasn't like, you know, you went to a suntan bed or waited till the night before to put, you know, tanning stuff on or sprayed. That we didn't have any of that stuff. And every day you would go to the beach and go to the gym. It was part of the condition. That's why they have the Olympia in September, because June, July, August, we could lay in the sun every day for 3 hours. And my skin was like saran wrap. I would go, you know, Zane taught me this. Baby oil and iodine on my skin. It looked like I was ready for the stage any second.
A statue.
Oh, and you'd walk to the beach. Everything was ready. And I was ready within 10 or 12 pounds to get on the stage at any moment. So by the time the show came, that was like perfect. I mean, you could just, everything was there. Every night I would put the Nivea cream in my skin and spend an hour getting ready for the next day. It wasn't like, you know,
this is
like
cool.
white and hairy. I was
cool.
shape every day. The skin always every Saturday I shaved my legs for an hour. I hated it. Dude.
I've seen one of the photos when you walk on the beach and everybody's looking at you. It's a pretty famous photo.
I never thought about that. It was just,
no, of course. Yeah, I don't think you do it for that reason, you know, that far in your career. I don't think you even start. People that achieve something in this sport, they don't start it selfishly, I think. They look at it a little bit different than other.
It's a spiritual
very.
To the gym and the beach and the camaraderie. I mean, I remember going to this place called German's Restaurant for $1.50 after the gym. We could get 6 eggs, you know, and Robbie would go. Robbie never talked. Robbie would sit there like this, and, you know, he'd eat quietly and leave. I'm like, wow, how does he look like that? Never even eats. He would eat half the omelet, push it away, and leave.
Wow.
I'm like, wow, how does he get so big, you know? And Robbie had the ripped up tank top, sort of like yours.
Yeah, he has a style. He has a swag even right now. If you see him at the gym, he's still wearing his sunglasses. He's still in the zone.
Well, I used to watch him. These are all the guys I watched. When I was a little kid, Robbie was the guy.
Yeah.
Okay, and I would come in the gym. When I walked in the gym, he had this cut-up tank top, and he was underneath the skylight. And I'm like, oh my God, my breath got taken away. I'm like, I'm staying here for no matter what.
He's probably one of the most beautiful physiques ever.
He would walk. There was like a style to him. He still has that.
Yeah, he does that.
A movement.
Yes, he does.
And I just can't be. I thought to myself, I can't just be this kid with muscle. I've got to be more than that. I've got to emulate what Robbie has, and what Zane has, and what Arnold had.
Yeah.
You know, and you sort of learn that you're more than just a bodybuilder. There's a connection and a movement pattern and a class about these guys that I go, that's what I'm looking for. I have to learn how to do that. And Robbie was, didn't talk, but he taught me. And Zane taught me. And they all like, welcome to the club, kid. Okay, we're going to show you how to.
This is so cool.
It was different back then.
This is so cool.
Tank tops and we didn't hide in our clothes, and it was all about the camaraderie and the love of the game. Okay, money didn't come into it later.
You were not really competing with each other. We're more challenging each other than.
We were competing with each other, but still, it's like, every weekend somebody was winning something, and when you're around that environment, you expect to win something too.
Yeah.
Next time it's my turn, and I did, and pretty soon we all went to the Olympia together. And at first I was like, wow, I'm at the Olympia in 1979 after I won the universe in '78. I'm like, oh, I'm on the Olympia stage with the best in the world. Holy smokes, I'm not ready for this yet. It wasn't until '81 I go, okay,
here I am.
I'm here to do business, guys. I love you all. You're the reason I'm here, but it's time for me to take my spot.
This is your time.
Yeah, and I knew that. I knew it. They knew it. And we all had that time. Okay, but I can tell you, man, I used to watch Robbie train back. I was like, and even today, I'm like, wow, he had this movement pattern that I tried to emulate. And people said that about my squats, and I used to watch Arnold do curls and go, aha, that's it. And nobody ever lifted gigantic weights. Robbie would, rarely did I see any of the top guys when I was a kid lift more than a 40-pound dumbbell. And for arms, for curls. That was it. But it was the way and the style and the movement and
The connection,
and it was like
the mental aspect of it was in it.
you just walked into the old Gold's Gym. You opened the door and you grew just by opening the door. Okay, you don't need to do anything.
Quite different nowadays. Very
Now
quite.
it's like about this and that.
How was your diet when you started out training, and how did it change? Because a lot of people right now, they think that there is some kind of a secret to it. How did you guys eat back then?
Well, back then we were all on meat and water. We ate steak and tuna and eggs and water, and carbs were very limited. And then around 1980, the 1979 Olympia, the 1980 Olympia, that's how I ate. But it wasn't until 81 I go, okay, I got to come into my own. I need carbs for the fullness. And I realized after spending a great deal of time with the great Mike Menzer, he was a friend of mine also, taught me a lot. And he said, you need carbs. As long as you limit your calories and eat the carbs, you can maintain the fullness that you need, Tom. I'm like, I got to do something different. I knew that I had to do something different. So I tried it. And I was eating 300 grams of carbs in 81, thinking, oh my God, I can't get in shape eating 300 grams of carbs. But you know what? 6 weeks before the show, I'm like big and full and strong and striated and in shape. I'm like, I can do this. And so up until the 81 Olympia, I was all, meat and water and really low carbs. But when I finally decided to switch metabolisms, I think that's one of the secrets, to switch metabolisms and eat carbs, man, all of a sudden I'm weighing more, looking bigger, looking fuller, and still in the kind of condition that I wanted. But I limited my calories.
Do you think your body reacted to this because you were on low carbs before? Otherwise it wouldn't do the trick?
Because in 82, 3, 4, 5, 6, it sort of leveled off. And I was big and full, but not like 81. 81, I was like, my skin was like saran wrap. All of a sudden, it was like, boom! People thought, my God, he must be doing something magical, something that nobody else has. He must be taking. I was eating toast in the morning and Pop-Tarts. Okay, that was my the chocolate ones. A
lot of people will go around right now and buy some Pop-Tarts. Actually,
my trainer partner used to do that. He used to come to the gym with a box of Pop-Tarts. He goes, "Is this the right kind, Tom?" I said, "Yeah, it is."
How did your legs respond? Was it your genetic, just strong point, or that's something that you figured out was just squatting?
Well, I didn't come out of the womb with cross striations. I didn't have big legs when I was a kid. When I was in high school, I was known as the guy with big upper body and tiny legs. Seriously. And as I went on in my career, started training. I started training with 90 pounds when I was younger and 135 pounds. And I really didn't come into my own. It just sort of happened by itself. In fact, I even, like in 79, 1980, I started doing less squats, thinking that I'll play my upper body, my lower body down and focus on my body. You know what happened? My legs got bigger. Boom! And Zane told me, he goes, "Tom, this is your ticket." He said, none of us have legs like that. You're very different this way. This is what you should market. And I'm thinking, really, Frank? You think so? He goes, yeah. But he was my teacher. These guys were my teachers. They're all 15 years, 10 years older than me. And they took me under their wing and they said, okay, kid. I was like the little kid with a dream. I'm going to do this no matter what. I don't care who says I'm not good enough. I'm good enough. Let me show you. And they saw that. They go, come here. And then when I would squat with them, they're like, you're crazy, man. But I would do arms with them and chest with them, and they would do legs with me. But they showed me the way. And I have to pay respect to Frank and Arnold and guys like this, and Robbie.
Yeah.
And I was in the hospital, and I had a bicep tear in 82. I was in the hospital and I had my my appendix burst in the hospital. And Robbie never spoke to me till this time. Robbie came to the hospital at night. It was like dark. I don't know how he got in. He would go, "Oh," a real low, deep voice. I don't know if you ever talked to him.
Yeah.
Voices like
Yes.
He should be a singer or something.
Yes.
And he walked in my room in the hospital when I was recovering from this arm operation. He goes, "You're going to train arms with me. We'll train. You're going to be fine." I'm like, wow, Robbie Robinson walked in my hospital room. Maybe I'm just on too many painkillers,
Yeah.
It couldn't have happened, but he spoke to me, and welcomed me to the club.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You're going to be fine." I'm like, wow, I guess I'm in. I'm the famous guy now. Because I was around all these guys and looking for my position, as a teenager. But when Robbie came into my hospital room, and I don't know how he got in. I don't know how he got in, so it was like 10, 11 at night. Visiting hours were over, but he came in.
Like a priest.
Yeah, like a shadow, But then I knew. I go, I'm here. And I'm going to stay here, and this is my life. This is going to be my life. And I always knew it. And I was always convinced beyond any reasonable doubt. And I just knew that this is what I was supposed to do with my life.
How did you turn your biceps?
I was doing flies in preparation for the 82 Mr. Olympia in London. And all of a sudden I felt this, I'm like, ooh, it's a weird feeling. So I put the dumbbells down, go, let's keep going. Oh, I go, I can't do it. So I called Ken Waller. Ken Waller had a tricep tear. I go, Ken, who's your doctor? I got to go see him right now. And he goes, okay, Barry, I forget Barry's last name, but he told me his doctor's number and his name, and I went to see him. He goes, it's completely ruptured, Tom. You can't train for the 82 Olympia. I'm like, forget that. I got 6 weeks to go. It's my turn, And I go, okay. So I went to the next doctor on the other side of the street. He said the same thing. He goes, it's completely ruptured. If you think you could train and compete in 6 weeks, hey, give it a shot. I'm like, okay, that's all I needed to hear. I needed to have somebody give me that positive thought.
Yeah.
So, I called Mike Menser, and I said, Mike, I can't train back anymore because I can't pull and I can't do biceps. He goes, I'm going to show you what Arthur Jones taught me on Nautilus, and Case Aviator helped me out. They all showed me how to do back work without bringing the biceps into play. So they showed me these Nautilus things, which I really didn't like because I was a free weight guy.
Yeah.
But I learned about Nautilus because out of necessity.
So you trained with a torn biceps?
Yeah, I did.
For how long?
6 weeks. I mean, there's only a month left, and the last 2 weeks you floated in condition, and nobody noticed it. Nobody saw it except for, I told a couple guys out here. They knew about it. Of course, all the judges are like in 82 in London. They're like, Tom, front bicep, please. I'm like, oh no, because I could hide it. I could hide it so good, nobody could see it. It was starting to move up,
Yeah.
But I could pose with it to where they didn't, and emphasize other things to distract them.
This is so crazy.
But they asked for me.
This is so crazy.
I couldn't get out. So finally, I think I placed 5th or 6th that year, and I decided all the pro shows I was in a guest pose in here. And all the promoters said, okay, fine, Tom, come on in, guest pose. And it was fun. I got to open the show and guest pose. And I think I had my mom with me. She was like, she was still wanted to travel to Europe. And I lived in Europe. Europe was my backyard. That's where I was at the most popularity, I think still to this day. My book was released in Europe first rather than the United States. All the promoters knew that. And I would go to Europe 4 months out of the year and guest pose and do a seminar every night. It was like, it's like home. It's like my people. People said to me, they go, why did you guest pose and do so many seminars if you really wanted to win the Olympia that bad? And I'm thinking, I just couldn't stay home and train and win the Olympia. I had to be out amongst the people. I had to be shaking hands and talking to people.
And sharing knowledge and inspiring,
And that to me was the Olympia. I wanted to that. I wanted to be on stage every night. I wanted to be on a different gym every morning. I wanted to do that for months at a time, and I did. And every weekend I had the opportunity to do that and get paid very well. So, and it wasn't about the money though. It was about the love of the game. And I wanted to do those kind of things.
How did you develop this squat rack religion? Because I heard you talking that it's a separate sport.
Yeah.
How did it become a separate sport for you?
Well, I responded very well to very hard squatting. Okay, I wasn't good at reps. I was a powerlifter at heart. I was supposed to be a low rep guy. But all of a sudden, when I started practicing on reps, I knew I could do it. 15 reps with 315, and then pretty soon it was 315 for 50 reps, and then it was 405 for 50 reps, and then it was 500 pounds for 25 reps, and all these numbers. It was like that was like a special game, a special sport. And so everybody would gather around on squat day
and just watch you squat.
Yeah. And they'd like squat with me, and like, you can do it, you can do it. You own this movement. Tony used to, my old training partner, Tony. You own the squat. Yes, Tony, I do. Okay, I would believe what he said. But I had the right degree of ankle flexibility. I was blessed with genetics, yes, the degree of ankle flexibility, low center of gravity. Plus, I was taught by the best in the world. When I was a little kid in Detroit, Norbert Szymanski influenced me and taught me how to squat. One of his disciples and top weightlifting coaches, Bob Morris, they would write down. I shouldn't have been in the gym at age 15 because I wasn't legal and I couldn't get into the gym. But they would put the weights on for me and say, "Do this, kid. Do that, kid. We're not going to show you how to squat unless you get a good pair of shoes. Go out and get a pair of squat shoes first." Yes, sir. And when I got a pair of squat shoes and came back and all right, let's show them how to squat. And they showed me how to squat. It was, your back straight. It was all quad dominant movement. And I incorporated that into my training when I came to California. Nobody squatted back then, really. I mean, Ed and Arnold did for pumping iron, but nobody really. They used to store benches underneath the squat.
Yeah, and it still looked very light. He was squatting with 3 plates.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
And I saw Eddie do it. Eddie influenced me. Eddie Corney. I'm like, okay, if he can do 315 for 15, I'm going to California. I'm gonna show him how it's done. Because I was trained by the best weightlifters in the world. And so when I went to California and squatted there, even now, I was just telling Shaw, I said I'd like to go back to Gold's, because I miss that same squat rack, squatting in the same place for all through the 70s and the 80s. When I go back there, I'm like, wow.
I can imagine. I got goosebumps. Yeah, flashbacks.
But that's what it was for me. It became a special movement, and because nobody really did it. But when I did it, they did it with me, and it became that special day where you cheer each other on.
Yeah.
I mean, do reps that nobody.
It's a very
before.
Yeah. If you trained hard, you go deep.
And the camaraderie. Of
Yeah.
it, and the spirit of it. It's like, because it's hard. It's hard to squat. I still get anxious talking about it. And every day when I still squat, not every day, but every other week, it's you get anxious, you get scared. It's a scary thing to put a lot of weight on your back for a lot of reps, and it really makes you go the distance.
Yes.
But I could never leave the gym a loser. I knew I would have in my mind going to the gym, I'm going to do this many reps with this much weight. And I had to make it happen. I had to make it a reality. And when you leave the gym and you accomplish that many reps with that much weight, it's like, life is great. It's the best drug in the world. It's not that I like squatting that much. I just like the feeling afterwards.
Of accomplishment.
I mean, imagine doing 500 pounds for I don't know. I never counted. My training partners did.
So you didn't count the reps?
No, I could never. When I did 405 for 50, I could never imagine. That's too many reps to think about. I can't manage that, but I can manage 5 at a time. So every 5, I'd do 5 reps, and Tony would say 5. Okay, Tony, say 10 when I get 10. 10. He would say 15, and when he would say 20, and then we'd say 25. Well, I'm halfway done. I can get 50. And they would do this for me. But I could manage 5 reps at a time. I couldn't manage 50 reps at a time in my mind. But once I get 5, it's like doing sets of 5, 10 times. That's all.
This is so crazy.
It's all in game. It's a mind game. And if you think you can do it, you can. If you think you could win this show, you can. But when you walk on stage, you've got to give that feeling to the audience.
Tom, you are a legend. I never heard anyone talking like that. No, I'm serious. I'd never experienced, human beings like you, because you have a totally different mentality, and that way I guess sets you apart from the rest of the bodybuilders. Everybody, from that era, you're right. They have their own feel and their own charisma. Yeah. Their own aspect. There's something about them instead of just being plain and just a bunch of muscles. There was a personality to it, and every single body looked different and artistic in a way. And talking to you right now, learning and seeing how much more goes into bodybuilding than just lifting weights, taking drugs, and eating an enormous amount of food.
I mean, anybody could do that.
Yes, and hearing your approach, there's no question you are a legend. And
that's kind of to say. Thank you.
It really, the squatting is probably one of the hardest exercises and the gnarliest workouts ever. This is the only time when I puke, if I push myself on the leg day.
I mean, it takes you for a ride. I mean, and you find out, how much guts you really have.
Yes, it tests your limits.
It's the only sport you're not trying to dominate someone else. You're just trying to dominate yourself.
Yes.
That's scary, just saying that.
That's why you feel happy when you really dominated yourself.
When I used to go to the car and fall into my Corvette, and barely be able to walk, it was like, I could do anything. I realized, and I tell the guys I work out with now, if you can do this, you can do anything. I don't care what it is. In fact, I would say, this squat, is this training, imitate life, or does life imitate the squat rack? And it's like, there's no answer for that, but it really does. I mean, if you can squat and really put it together, I mean, that answers all your problems. It really does, because you can translate that to anything. And I always tell the guys I train with, there's 5 more reps in the gym. There's always 5 reps. I don't care how beat up you are. I don't care how tired you are. You got 5 reps. And same in life. There's 5 reps left. In business, you know this better than anybody. There's always 5 reps left.
Absolutely.
So that's what the squat was for me. It was more the religion
more of a technical question. A lot of people asking, what legs respond better to heavy weights and less reps, or less weight and more reps?
I did a podcast the other day on this very subject. You've got to do both. You've got to do the heavy, low reps, and you've got to do the reps too. But the reps are far more important than the heavy weights. But the challenge now is to do really heavy weights for a lot of reps. And that's what you have to figure out. I mean, how do you do 405 for 50 reps? Or for at least 10 or 15? I watched Zane do 405 for 10. He's a small guy.
Yeah.
And I used to watch him do sit-ups in these Roman shirt with wraparound sunglasses. He'd do sit-ups one set for an hour. When I first came to California, I'm like, oh my God.
One set for an hour.
An hour, one set of sit-ups. And I'm like a teenager going, these guys aren't from the Earth.
Wow.
Zane must be from a different planet, obviously.
He looks like that.
And so I figured the squat, and I never really thought about the squat being mine, but I figured, I'm going to own this. I'm good at this. I can do a lot of weight for a lot of reps. And people started recognizing me for that. When I walked on stage, and I remember one day I had a brand new pair of sweats on, and I had oil on my skin, and it was like lint, little pieces of sweats. So I got to dust it off before I hit my leg shot. And so people thought that was part of my act. So every time I guest posed, and every
yes,
I dusted my leg first, then snapped. People thought that was part of my act.
Yeah.
I became known for that movement. I don't know how it happened. It was a gift. It was a gift from God, because I wasn't the most symmetrical guy with a tiny waist like yourself. I was this white kid from back east, working class white kid who believed he could do it, and I had no question that I could do it. And people used to think, oh yeah, he's not Arnold. And I never thought I was Arnold. I just thought I'm me, and I had something, and I could put it. I knew I could put it together. I knew I had to do it. And I think when a Menser and Viator used to walk by me training, they're like, oh my God, this kid's nuts. He won't stop. And I guess that was the intensity of training. I knew that, that I had to do this. I had to train like this to develop a kind of body that was different than everybody else. When I walked on stage with legs, I think most of the judges were like, how do we judge this? We never saw legs like this. Arnold doesn't have the status quo. It was beyond the status quo. They didn't know what to do with me. So right away, I established this entity of being, Tom Platz, the guy with the legs, and it never went away. When I tried to make it go away, they got better.
Tom, do you think that heavy squats, do they thicken your?
You got to do both.
If they're not, I'm talking about heavy squats. Do they thicken your waist? Because there's a lot of. Actually, I talked to Frank Zane, and he told me that he wouldn't squat heavy because it will get his obliques really thick.
To some degree, there's some truth in that, but I think a lot of it is the technique. Because if you have a quad dominant squat and you keep your waist small and use your quads only without your lower back and your waist area, you can get the legs without the obliques. You can do it, okay? And just that most guys and most girls don't squat like I'm talking about. They have a lot of girls squat for their buttocks. I get that. I understand. I finally figured out, okay, that's what they're doing. But people lean over and they use a technique that's not pure. The pure technique will lead to quad development and shape galore, guarantee you. I tell some of the girls I know, I go, just squat with no weight. All of a sudden they're like, oh my God, it's coming together, it's happening. You got to squat. And squatting was, for me, for most people, it's one of the keys to success. I really believe that.
I think when you squat, the whole body catches up to you as well. Because sometimes you hit a plateau and you try to work your upper body and it's not growing, but you gotta hit the legs heavier and harder to your upper body to actually start growing and to break through the plateau and go to an anabolic state again.
Especially like we used to do like sets of 3 and sets of 5 and sets of 6 and sets of 8, okay? But then on the other days, it would be like at least 15 sets, at least 15 reps. And then we start proposing, well, if we can do 15, why not 20? If we can do 20, why not 30? If we can do 30, how about 50 reps a set? And that became very challenging. I mean, 50 reps a set, how do you manage that? Especially with a lot of weight. And that's the key, getting a lot of weight and really doing the reps and not stopping to where it gets hard.
People say it's overtraining nowadays, and listening to you and reading more of an old school approach, there was a lot more volume and a lot more challenge and more diversity.
Most modern day bodybuilders don't put the effort into figuring what works. They just figure they'll eat this or take that and they'll get this result. And as a result, the physiques are looking similar. Everybody's physique looks round and full. Interesting, but that's,
It's freaky.
yeah.
It's freaky. It's more of a freak show, more of entertainment, because you don't see those things every day. It's like looking at the movie, at the fantasy, like a little book, But bodybuilding, looking at you or looking at the bodybuilders from old school, there was art to it,
I think we need more art.
and you can see that. That's why you were more involved mentally, because when you work as an artist, it's all happening in your head first, and then it comes into play in reality. So. That's what's, I guess.
The thing is, most bodybuilders do what Dorian did. Dorian opened the door. Dorian Yates opened the door for what's the current scene, if you will. In the old days, we were all not really following anyone. We were creating our own path. And, you can follow somebody else and be a soldier, and that's respectable. I respect that. But there are a few people, a few athletes, a few artists who create something from within, and to innately or intrinsically pull something out of yourself and paint it or sculpt it or change your body accordingly. That's art. That's your closest connection to God. Okay? And most bodybuilders don't go there anymore. They're just doing what Dorian did. We're doing what Ronnie did. Or doing what Jay did.
Without real connection to inner being.
Well, due respect, these guys.
Absolutely, they're hardworking people. Absolutely, there is no question. Yes, this the approach is different. It just got lost somewhere. Someone the way, and I feel what's happening right now, people are thirsty for that, because it truly expresses who we are.
I agree. Everything comes back. I mean, bell bottoms came back, and I think that they came back twice, I think.
Yeah.
But I think that young bodybuilders will start realizing this again.
They already do. Everybody's looking back now.
Yeah.
Because it's beautiful. And anybody can relate that. A human eye can relate to the beauty, to aesthetics. When you see it, it's beautiful. You have that inside. You can resonance that.
Yeah. Not that I feel like my grandfather. Back in my day, we didn't wear shoes on the way to school. We had to walk with
Yeah.
In a way, I don't want to say our day was better. It was interesting. It was different. I got to tell you though, a lot of the old guys who I used to admire their time, like the 50s, Muscle Beach in the 40s and the 50s. What was that like? They used to tell me about stories, and they would say the 80s were the best time. I'm like, you think so? And we had no idea it was the golden era in 1980. We didn't know that.
Yeah, I understand. It was just bodybuilding.
It was one Gold's Gym.
Yeah.
It was one Gold's Gym. We all went to that one Gold's Gym. We all came here from all over the world to train at that one gym. I remember when they were selling the gym, they offered me half ownership for 20. I turned pro in 1979. I made 40 grand in 1979, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
For my first year as a pro, and I could have gave them 20 grand and owned half of Gold's Gym's enterprises. I thought, no, I'm going to buy a Corvette instead. Big mistake.
Wow.
15 years later.
Yeah, right.
My neighbor goes, Tom, I have an idea for a coffee shop. I go, coffee? I'm not going to invest money in a coffee shop. You can buy coffee at Denny's. What do you call this coffee shop? Starbucks. I never had the vision.
Oh my God. This is so funny.
Arnold had that vision. He was buying property in Venice, California when it was a dump, a hole in a wall. He knew that he could see the vision. Guys like Vince McMahon had the vision for wrestling.
Yeah, it's hard to combine bodybuilding and business. You gotta have the vision as well to it. It's something that probably comes, with your personality as well.
Well, you have a vision about
I do have that.
That's why I like you.
I feel like I can relate to Arnold a lot.
Yeah.
And I noticed that you can do so much now without stepping on stage anymore. Because we are in a completely different world with different technologies, and social media gives you a far more reach and exposure than any stage in the world. And now social media is bigger than IFBB or any other organization. So if you can promote and put yourself up there and be honest and be transparent and do something that comes from your heart, not being driven by making money or making a name for yourself, just doing it purely out of passion. This is the only way you can create something really beautiful and relatable and sell it in the end of the day.
I agree completely with you. I mean, money comes and goes.
Yes.
Money comes and goes, But the way you affect other people, that lasts forever. Your art affects other people. In the old days, the art of bodybuilding affected the way you thought as a kid. And that, to me, sometimes your art bothers people and disturbs people. I get that's art too. But art is supposed to affect people to make their own art, and then you get into, does art imitate life, or does life imitate art? That's the whole, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to go there right now. Okay. But that's what bodybuilding was supposed to be. It's not just supposed to be about getting big, about getting strong, and about walking on stage. And I think we need less science and more art. That would be my prognosis or diagnosis.
I agree with you. It totally makes sense. I want. What was your mentality, and how did you approach pain barrier? Let's say you reached the failure. How would you manage your mind to push yourself body beyond that limit? I know you had a psychiatrist. I've been seeing some yeah, that's psychiatrist. Yeah. I've seen him putting you in a state of mind to go into training.
I told myself when I was real young, just starting to squat, and I made a promise to this young Tom Platz. I said, if you're going to do this bodybuilding thing, if it's this important to you, you cannot be a failure. You cannot leave the gym ever a failure. You have to give it everything you got. And when you think you're done, there's 5 more reps. Even when you do 5 reps, there's probably 5 more reps yet. Okay? And I told myself, I have to give it this much. I just can't be, because I can't accept the fact. I cannot live with the fact that Tom Platz is a loser. That disturbs me so much. I hate that statement so much. I will do anything close to death to be a winner. Okay? So when I squat 50 reps back in the old days for 405, I probably had 30 in me. Probably had 25 in me, but somehow, by some act of God, from a miracle, I got 50 reps, okay? But it was a belief system that I cannot live with myself. I cannot look in the mirror. I can't walk down the street going, I'm a failure. Oh, I would rather die. I'm serious. I would rather die than be a failure. Life, this should not exist, at least for me, being a failure. I cannot live my life.
Just settle for a failure, I would say.
So in order to deserve to breathe on a daily basis, I had to give it that much. And I was willing to give it that much. And a lot of times I came that close to death.
This is something you can relate to anything in life. Absolutely. It's the whole life. Yeah. Just refuse to be a failure at anything, not just...
Totally spent. If you're totally spent at the Olympia, if you're totally spent and gave it everything you got, I didn't lose in 81. You know?
Yeah.
You're doing t-shirt, it says 1981. It's going to say 81 on this thing?
Yes, it does.
81.
Columbus, Ohio. That's the most memorable Olympia for you, I guess.
So I have to think that I really lose.
Because you were right there.
I don't have the Sandow. Okay, thanks for saying that. I don't have the Sandow.
But Sandow doesn't matter. You know, when you give 100% and you step on stage, you don't have to acknowledge anyone unless you feel like to. You know, you pay respect when it's due. So, as you said, this is the sport where you compete against yourself. You know, and you know that you are right there when you need to be. You're a winner, no matter what.
Everything that goes along with the Sandow, I have.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
I think you have way more than that.
Well, I would not take the Sandow and give away what I have. Okay, don't.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
But I'm very grateful for everything that bodybuilding gave me. It was a gift, and I have to thank, God for that.
What you made with bodybuilding of yourself, I think that's, a lot of people come into bodybuilding and they then really never make anything out of it, but muscles. I think it created your personality, created who you are. Yeah. Instead of just building the muscle, you build inner will.
The thought pattern will never atrophy. I mean, the thought pattern and the desire to excel and be the best you can be and be totally spent. What a great feeling. To leave the gym or to leave the Olympia stage going, I did everything I could possibly do. Wow. I placed 5th or 1st or 2nd or 3rd. I don't care.
Tom, do you think, does it have anything to do with genetics, bodybuilding and genetics? Because, a lot of people come and say, oh, I just don't have the genetics for this. But a lot of time, they just don't really know how much they have to put work so their genetics actually start working.
There you go. I mean, you have to work with what you have. If you're training yourself, you have to work with what you have. You can't work with what you don't have. Genetics does play a role, but it's so easy to bow down to genetics. Oh, I don't have genetics, I can't do it. when I was a little kid, I knew I didn't have the genetics of Arnold or Zane or Robbie, or Corny. But I knew I had to do it. I don't care. So hell with genetics. I'm going to do it my way, And I knew that was the answer. I mean, it wasn't.
And it is the answer.
The attitude is the answer. Attitude monitors talent. You heard what I just said? Attitude monitors talent.
Absolutely.
And I live by that rule. And I don't care what it is. If I'm playing chess, which I never do, or if I'm I have to be the best at it, the best I can be.
I understand.
I'm not trying to beat somebody else.
I understand.
It's just challenging myself to go, okay, 5 more reps, or 2 more reps, or 1 more rep, and it's a wonderful experience. I mean, to leave the gym going, even when I see other people do it, like this guy I work out with, Josh or Jacob, to see them leave the gym, and Jacob, he leaves the gym going. I go, I remember 1975. I can see that in his eye, and I'm reliving it like having a child, Not that he's my child, but those feelings are still prevalent in my mind now.
I think that's why we need to do more squat clinics so you can see more of it.
I think people need to know what pure technique
Absolutely.
is.
I think while you're still around here, you should leave your technique. I think a lot of people out there would travel from all around the world to meet you and to learn the pure. You know what? There is more to you than just a physical aspect of bodybuilding. That's why I'm not really want to ask you questions. What is the techniques you used? Your approach, mental approach to bodybuilding is way beyond other people. And learning that from you, and going back to the gym for me, it's my world where I create my own thing. Mm-hmm. I don't feel stressed. I feel creative. I feel inspired there. Even sometimes the workouts are shitty and it doesn't go the way I want to, or I'm tired, but I'm enjoying it. I'm living that moment. I don't want to be anywhere else in the world but that, and I want to live through that, pushing yourself constantly to something, to that vision. And when you see that happening, your character is changing.
Oh yeah. You have to have good to have bad. You have to have evil to have good. You have to have both. You have to have white and black. And in bodybuilding, I remember like sometimes I'd go to a restaurant on Main Street, and I'd be having a fish dinner going. It was a terrible workout. God, it was disgusting. And I never want this to happen again. And it would, but I never want it to happen again. And I'd have a great workout the next workout. And I knew that I had to have those sad days to have those happy days.
Yes.
And that's art. Every artist knows that. And I think as you look at artists like yourself, you realize the true love of art. It's not just doing it for the money. It's doing it for life. And it does. It imitates life.
Yes.
In fact, you can discuss that forever, ad infinitum, back and forth.
Tom, what do you think about bodybuilding in the future, and where it's going to go back to?
I think we're going to see a guy and a woman create something new that nobody else has ever done. I think it's coming, because right now, it's similar. It's just people copying, but I think we're going to see somebody invent something new like Dorian did. And when Dorian walked on the stage, we never saw that. What the hell is this? We never saw that kind of mass and that kind of size. And I think we're going to see something with quality and shape and style and class that sets that bodybuilder apart than anybody ever. And that's what I'm waiting for. Before I die, I want to see that going, wow.
I passed the torch.
Like when I saw Robbie Robinson as a teenager, my breath was taken away. And I really believe that life is not about how many breaths you take. It's about the moments that take your breath away. That's life. That's art. That's why I'm in this business. That's why you're in this business.
Yes.
I know. We're not just in it to look big and get a date.
No.
It's not about the stuff.
No.
It's about the love of the game. I live by that rule. And I know it's right because I just know it. And to have somebody like you talk about it with you, to see you take it, I already have taken it. I'm like, wow, that's the guy I want to know.
I'm just absorbing it, dude. You don't know. It's like talking to, when you're 6 and you're looking at that photo and you don't know that guy at all. There's just a guy there, and you get to meet this guy 25 years later. I went through so many things in life, and I've tried so many things, and I have 3 college degrees. I never thought this bodybuilding thing would be my career, would be my life, and just like for you, it made you, it's making me. You know, it takes me to the places where I didn't dream to go. You know, there are new horizons, and horizons are opening it up because I'm putting in the work, and I'm having a bigger vision than, you know, just being a competitive athlete. I want to be larger than life in a way. I want to explore life, and I feel like bodybuilding is the engine. You know, I don't know if I have a superior genetics. I'm not a huge guy because I've seen Danny Padilla when he was 19. That's genetics. You know,
He is unbelievable.
Superior.
He'd go up to the gym, he'd be tiny, and every week he'd get bigger.
He told me.
I don't know how he did it.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, "Oh, those are the drugs. They were using it." To say, no, it's not. You either have it or you don't. Some people respond very quickly to food and to training.
You know, Danny knew how to train. To watch Danny train was a delight. He had fun training. Every movement was meaningful. It wasn't just 10. It was like 10. And his body would happen in front of my eyes. It was incredible. And I'll never forget that. At the old 2nd Street, the Gold's Gym on 2nd Street. It was just like, he'd come out, he'd stay skinny on purpose. He would get skinny on purpose. He'd be like a tiny little kid. And he would do that on purpose and not eat, and then start eating like a bodybuilder. He'd just like, oh, wow, it was just like a flower blossoming, you know? And
yeah.
It was the most incredible thing I ever saw.
I'm gonna ask you a question. You were with him on the stage in 1981.
Yeah.
What do you think you were against him?
Well, I think Danny could have won, but, you know.
Could have.
Here's the funny thing is, I'll tell you this. I didn't know who was on stage. I don't until maybe like a few years ago. I go, oh, Danny was in that, or you know, when he was in it,
wow.
Waller was in it.
Yeah.
Because I was so into my own zone, and this is what modern day bodybuilders, they get backstage and they go, oh, look at her, look at him, and they give it away.
Yeah.
When I was 81, I was so hypnotized within myself. It's a selfish thing too, but I knew this is my time. I don't care who shows up. I don't care if God shows up. It's my time. Okay, I mean that not disrespectfully, but there were some bodybuilders that were, you know, that were better than me for sure. Danny had the potential to win that night. I don't think he believed it though. I don't know if he believed it entirely. I could sense that a little bit. He was ready to take second and or third. I'm like, you know, and I was, you know, I congratulated Franco when he won. And you know, that's the risk you take. When you stand on stage, you take the risk of losing. But I don't know, that night was so special. I would train 25 more years for one more night like that with no money. Forget about it. Just for one more night. I mean, you know, imagine it's like the people in the audience.
Yes.
Like it was like I was one of them. They were one of me. We're all together in this. It was like the love of the game was so thick in the air. You could smell it. You could taste it. You know, and Ricky Wayne came up to me afterward. Ricky Wayne was old, and you know, he would interview me, and he wanted to tell me something bad about Franco. Franco should have, great champion. Franco was a great bodybuilder. He should have placed a little bit lower tonight, and I should have placed a little higher. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here with everybody. You know, I just said things diplomatically. I didn't plan that.
I've seen that.
It just came out that way, you know. I was thrilled to be on stage with the best in the world and take my place amongst them, you know. And I wasn't the most genetically gifted, the most genetically superior, but I don't care. Damn it, I'm gonna make it happen. And people go, oh my God, how did he do that? We are very strong in our mind. If you want something bad enough, you'll figure a way out.
Tom, what would be a message to everyone around the world watching us, to all the young kids that come into bodybuilding?
Don't ever let somebody tell you that you're not good enough, you know? And I was talking to this young girl on the phone today. I'm a recruiter. I'm a corporate recruiter, and I help people find their way in life. And I told her, don't let anybody ever tell you that you're not good enough, okay? And I made an appointment with her to interview her, to put her in a position, a corporate position. And so many young people think that they can't, or they don't have the potential, or somebody else is better. Forget everything about it. I mean, you know, if you really want something bad enough, if you really, really want something bad enough, you'll figure out a way to get there. It may not be exactly what you had in mind, like the Olympia third place wasn't exactly what I had in mind. Okay, but I'll take third place. Okay, and I'll figure it out. And you know, people don't think about third place; they just think about that night and the energy, as I do. And I really believe if you want something bad enough, you can will it to happen. Muscle growth, genetically disturbing your genetics and changing, I mean, when I look at pictures of myself as a kid versus 81, I'm like, things happen, you know, and I didn't really how it happened. It just happened. It wasn't, but inside myself, I was demanding and insisting, and I wasn't about to say, hey, I hope it happens. It's going to happen right now, or the muscle's going to break off. Either one. God, what do you think? Let's go. Okay? And it worked. And I really believe that attitude is everything.
Thank you.
Not very often do you get a great leap with great attitude and great genetics. Usually they're the superstars. They exist too. Okay?
You know, Tom, I want to say thank you because, you know, doing this interview, you really think of the questions and you try to play it out somehow, right? For me, listening to you right now, it's changing my perspective on life because I come from a very humble environment where people tell you can't be someone, you can go somewhere, you know, and I come from poverty. So I was already kind of put the limitations on me automatically, you know, and I fight those limitations every single day. And listening to you, I'll be honest with you, I listen to some of your tapes before I go on my leg days, you know, because they inspire me so much. So thank you so much for actually doing this and getting involved with me and with Golden Aesthetics and sharing your knowledge. And I'm looking forward to help you with the squat clinic so we can invite people from around the world so we can teach them, yes. And not only the form of squat, just the pure art of bodybuilding. Thank you so much, Tom. That's a big pleasure and a big honor, man. Thank you so much.